You're listening to the KB Podcast Network.
Coming up on this episode of the Kingdom Bringer Podcast.
I was looking around at the world and at how in 2 weeks it basically shut down. Whoever has the power to shut the world down in 2 weeks has a lot of power. But if I really believe that God is in his creation and loves the world, do I believe that anything he loves, he will protect? Yes. I just think under the Christian banner, we also sweep things under the rug. And by association, I think we sweep him under the rug too.
What's going on? This is the Kingdom Bringer Podcast. So good to have you back with us. I'm your host, Darin Eubanks. Today I have a conversation with a friend of mine, Josh Littlejohn. He's a friend to the podcast. He's been on here many, many times. And during this coronavirus outbreak, during the shifting times that we're in right now, it seems like every 24 hours there's something new, right? Something new taking place, some new reality that's facing us. I've had some really good conversations with Josh via phone, and I said, man, we need to get together and record these conversations because it's good. Josh is such a thinker, and he's a guy that really encourages people to think. And so he has an awesome way of bringing out questions, bringing out conversations that maybe people don't have with themselves, they don't have with other people, kind of brings you out of your box, what you're used to. And that's one of the things that I really value about my friendship and my relationship with Josh Littlejohn. So this is going to be a good episode where we really talk about, since this outbreak, where we're at as a country, where we're at as a church, where we're at as just humans on this planet. And Josh also has an amazing way of having an empathetic perspective. He loves people very, very well. He loves people like Jesus, and he has an awesome way of looking at their situation and being able to not just hear where they're at, but help point them into the right direction for them to be able to see freedom at the other end. So this is episode 60 episodes in, and this one's going to be called Honesty Amid the Coronavirus. Josh is all about honesty. Him and his wife, Naci, have a ministry called SAFETIME, where they just help and encourage people to be honest with their circumstances, with their situations, and they help, again, point them to Jesus. It's so good. So here we go. Don't forget to check out kingdombringer.com. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. And when you do that, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, and share it with your friends. Subscribe and share it with your friends. Will you guys help us out? Don't be lazy podcast listeners. Do your part here. Help us out if you can. That'd be awesome. If you want to help support this podcast financially, I haven't talked about this in a while, but you can do that. Go visit kingdombringer.com. Check out the donate page. There's an easy link for you to be able to give and help keep this thing going. We want to help put out just encouraging content. We want to put out life-giving, kingdom-focused content, and you can help and partner with us. Be a part of that process of building up and encouraging the children of God to be everything they were created to be. So thank you again for tuning in. We love you. Here's my episode with Josh Littlejohn. This is Honesty Amid the Coronavirus. Be blessed.
Live from SAFETIME Studios.
Hey, look at this. Is this your first official interview from SAFETIME Studio?
Yeah. Maybe even the last after what we talk about today.
The main reason I wanted to have you on was I feel like during this outbreak that you and I have had some, at least for me, some very interesting conversations. And you have a way of you have a way of looking at things a little bit differently. I think you have a way of asking questions that a lot of people don't maybe vocalize or outwardly ask, but it's questions that are all on our mind. And I also feel that as a podcaster, it's kind of my responsibility to maybe talk about this a little bit. Haven't done that yet. So it is kind of, it's the way of the world right now. Everybody's thinking about this. And I just kind of wanted to officially record some conversation with you. So what are some things, man, since this has gone down, what are we saying? 3-4 weeks? This has kind of been a thing, maybe throughout the month of March, I would say.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of things have changed. I remember, like, it seems like you and I would talk every time there was like a new story, right? A new development, right? School shut down, you know, toilet paper's gone, whatever that is. How has this been something that has kind of changed the way that you've processed your everyday life so far?
Well, I do want to just back up and tell you, I would love for this to be a conversation between you and I.
For sure. Yeah.
And I love, asking questions, just kind of like the video I posted yesterday was asked a lot more questions than I had any answers, but it is something that I like to do. And I think that a lot of that comes from just, I've been, you know, all of our upbringing, and it just kind of depends on what you're exposed to, I think. And then you kind of get a glimpse. And then I think a lot of it, we moved around a lot. We were a missionary family. You get a glimpse of other world views, right? And so then you're out of this echo chamber. And on one sense, it's like a blessing, but it can also kind of be a curse. It feels like a curse sometimes too.
Well, I like that perspective. I like that perspective that you're talking about, because I feel like you've actually seen, I don't know if you've been third world stuff or not, but you've seen other countries. And so you can probably have an idea of what they're going through right now, right? Probably better than me, because I'm just used to my little world. I'm just used to what I see every day. But you've had some experience in, you know, overseas stuff or seeing people in their environment. So I do think that you carry a fresh perspective of like empathy, I think, more than a lot of people that I know. And so it's easy for me to get wrapped up in my own head, my own thoughts, my own stuff. And you have a way of asking questions that brings people out of their environment and into like seeing things from a different perspective. And so, that comes through on a lot of your posts too, I think.
And I think I want to also be clear, like I might be very empathetic, but it doesn't necessarily lead me to any sort of action.
No, I get that. Yeah.
But I also feel like in some sense, my wheelhouse or my lane in some senses is just to get people to think. And I feel like it's one thing that I like to do. And so yes, we'll just refer to, like, it was about a week ago or whenever this first kind of became serious. I feel like it became real to us. This whole coronavirus all became real to us at some point in time.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I'm on the news too much, probably not watching TV, but just on the phone and reading news headlines. And I feel like before it really became really real here, I feel like I got a clue of like, wow, this is going to become real. But at the same time, I saw a lot of church leaders and the Christian at that, you know, things have changed since, you know, it's funny how things have changed so fast. But at that time, the Christian, what I felt like was at least perceived as the Christian response was, there was a lot of like, this isn't real. There was some politics going on, almost implying like the media was behind a lot of this. And there was like, you know, just have faith and don't be afraid. And
faith over fear stuff, right?
Which is true.
Yeah,
it was true. And it is true. We're told as Jesus followers, you know, don't be afraid, right? And don't be afraid. And but I was just kind of fired up because I was like, it just raised a lot of questions in my mind. I'm like, this isn't just going to be a staycation for a lot of people. This isn't going to be, oh no, we have to stay at home and we'll figure it out. We have to cancel our spring break trip. Oh, darn.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that the messaging has changed since then. I think it's become more serious. I've seen there's been some outreaches like, hey, donate to this fund and we'll help support people. But at the time, I think I was sort of responding to how quickly it was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because, you were actually again, I feel like you have an awesome way of seeing from other people's points of view. And so you're probably looking at that as, if I wasn't a part of the Big C church, what would I think about #faith over fear? What would I think about, scrolling through your Facebook and seeing all of these church leaders posting whatever they were posting? Many of them kind of coming out of the closet. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of them were still like, we're going to meet, we're going to gather, and almost like, we don't care. This is all fear. We're still going to meet. And even all that tune has changed. And there's more realities of how contagious, this is, and how, not just how contagious, but how harmful it is to old people. And even then, to our vulnerable people. So even then, I kind of want to press in and be like, it's really, I think, also exposing our ageism a little bit and our lack of value for, oh, hey, why are we so worried? Only people that
only
are
the old people are. I've said it, bro.
Only old people are getting it. And I'm like, geez.
No, that's good.
Thank God we're not old right now. Or just, oh, don't worry, those people are already sick. I'm like,
wow.
It just kind of, and it's not a judgmental thing. This whole time in my mind is an exposure time.
That's good.
Exposes our idols. It exposes our ways we pass the time. It exposes and it's just like, we all, me included, we like to relegate to the nursing homes and out of sight, out of mind a lot of the people in the last stages of life. And it's exposing that too.
Yeah.
Kind of our heart condition.
Well, I want to talk about the idol thing, because you and I had a conversation, and from that conversation kind of led me to go do a Facebook Live and steal all the content that you gave me and put it out there on my on my personal page. But you had said that you feel like, what if this is the Lord using this as a way to expose those idols? And this was fresh off of the cancellation of the NCAA tournament, March Madness.
It was right away.
It was right away.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like you had kind of said, this became real at a certain time. For me, that's kind of when it was, because I know how America is and the desire to make money. And so when these big money makers in sports called it quits, for me, I was like, okay, this is a real thing. This is a big deal. And you had talked about how that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love the way you communicate, because you always do things in questions. And it is you wanting people to think. So many people in my life, whether it's my text relationships or my Facebook relationships, when they ask a question, it's to bait you into a debate. It's to bring you into a debate because they feel like they have a stance. You ask a question and you always finish it up with, I don't know, I'm just asking, and I love that. And that's kind of how this was too. You were like, what if this is the Lord just exposing all of our idols, sports, TV, basketball, whatever that was. And talk about that just for a little bit. What was your point in that whole thought?
Oh man, it helps to know, it helps for me to be reminded of how I grew up. I grew up in a very, as far as the Christian part of things goes, in a very, God does definitely bring sickness if he wants to, for correction or to show that kind of he's God and to
God's
show,
in control, right?
And then I left that in my teens and, I just totally rebelled from all of it from about 16 to 26. And then when I came back to the Christian faith, in a way, it was more, God is only good. He never, and so that was all, this is all new to me so about, for the last 15 years, it's been more like, God never causes anything like that. You know, he's not even associated with anything that is harmful. And so I've had almost like equal life experiences in both, or life length of time in both. And so it's funny. It's even now, I'm more associated and closely related to God is only good and only does good things. And I get that. And I believe that. But I've seen friends of mine also post like, there's no way God even uses this. Taking all this, it's made me into this messed up question asking individual you see today. But so one of the things is like, it's almost even sacrilegious or not right to even say God might be using this in the camps that kind of we're in now. And kind of what struck me the other day was like, I was looking around at the world and at how in 2 weeks it basically shut down. And I had this weird thought. I was like, wow, whoever has the power to shut the world down in 2 weeks has a lot of power. Yes?
Yes.
Would we all agree with that?
Yeah.
Right? Yes. And then it felt weird for me to think that whoever had the power to do all this wasn't God.
Right. Yeah.
Which, just keep following that. I'm like, wow. And I hate even saying this, but if this is the work of the devil, if this is the work of Satan, would we all agree that that's a powerful thing to do? For sure. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't like saying that.
Yeah.
That feels weird coming out of my mouth. It's like, I feel like we're giving him, almost by the definition, we're giving him glory, giving him weight, going, who did this? Who's behind all this? And then just got me thinking, like, can we get to a place where it's like, God didn't cause this, but he is using this? Can we all agree he's allowing this to happen? And even coming out of my mouth right now, this is hard to talk about. But
and that was the question. That was one of the questions you texted to me was, is God allowing Corona?
So for me to say that God's not allowing coronavirus, it's hard to say, but the alternative, I don't believe that he's not allowing it, because that's not true. If I believe he's this most powerful. And there's different theologies. You can get so deep into this stuff. I talked to my friend Michael about this, and there's whole people that think like, he's in control, but he's not controlling.
Right.
Like, well,
yeah.
Why not?
Prove it. Yeah.
But I will tell you lately, do I think that God is jealous for us to find our joy in him, because we know that's our highest form of joy and our best life? To use a Joel Osteen book title, is living our best life now. I do believe that. I believe he knows that anything in this world that he's created are good, they can be good things and fun things, but our highest form of satisfaction, joy, and pleasure and peace is with him. Do I think that he's jealous to show us that? I do.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And so to say he's causing the coronavirus versus he's using the coronavirus versus he's allowing the coronavirus, these are all good questions. Now, I will tell you I wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about what my neighbor said to me the other day. And I love having neighbors who are not, we should all have friends who are not in the bubble we're in.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. I promise you, it's one of the most, it's just how we become so insulated to anybody else when we're only in our church circles and we're all following the same 10 people online. And my neighbor said, he's like, hey, this is all so crazy. I wonder what Mother Nature is trying to teach us.
Right. Yeah.
And I've just been dwelling on that phrase ever since. And I'm like, and I can't even get it out. I was going to write about it actually today, but I think in Christian circles, especially charismatic circles, we get so supernatural. And we get so anything is only God or the devil.
Yeah.
Anything is only that. While at the same time, there's this thing called creation, which the Lord created, and it's also a living thing. In a small way, I put on Instagram earlier a picture of, we've all been walking down the sidewalk and we've seen a tree that's uprooted a sidewalk. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Right. So it's funny, like life has a way of getting where it needs to go. Life has a way of getting what it needs to get. And so his phrase, which I haven't been able to get rid of, has stuck with me. I'm like, there is this living, breathing thing that God loves, because God so loved the world. I believe he loves his creation.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and now we're all, us as a human race, we're all still, we're all stationary. And his creation, there's the verse that everyone's been posting a lot. If we will all humble ourselves, right? It's in,
he will heal our land. Yeah.
Heal our what?
Yeah.
Land.
Yeah.
Heal our land. And everyone knows that's in agriculture, knows that land needs to rest,
Yeah, that's good.
And here's another question. Could we even say that this is a way in which God is orchestrating things in healing our land?
Yeah.
Healing our waterways, healing our actual land, healing, putting a pause on some pollution. And I'm not a tree hugger environmentalist. I'm not. But if I really believe that God is in his creation and loves the world, do I believe that anything he loves, he will protect? Yes. And,
that's good. Well,
another open-ended.
Yeah. And from our conversation, I will say, cause I've got probably a less empathetic view than you do. I can admit that. That's just kind of how I'm wired, I think. And I do think, which you alluded to this too, that it is a matter of faith and fear. It really is. I mean, as believers of that, I do believe that it's faith. Like we can react to things with faith or with fear. I do believe that. But not everybody understands faith. Not everybody has faith. And so their natural reaction is fear. And if they're in that place, they're in that place, right? Like I made a post, I think we talked about it, that I wrote it down here. Fear is a real experience, but it's not a reality. Fear is a mirage set up by the kingdom of darkness to keep us from fulfilling our destiny. That's an old post that I made a couple years ago. And I do believe in the idea of fear being a mirage. Like it's set up by the enemy to keep us from moving towards faith, But again, something that was drawn out of a conversation I had with you was there are people suffering. There is the single mother who got laid off, has to be at home and figure out how to pay her bills. Me simply telling her, hey, babe, it's faith over fear, doesn't do anything for her. It doesn't move her from one place of confusion to a place of clarity at all. Like, that's just where she's at. And so I do think that what this has done for me has just, I don't know, those kind of posts and those kind of statements, they'll get the Christians going and jacked up, and it's great for a church service, to get us rallied behind faith. But in these kind of times, is it really effective in the grand scheme of things, And I think that having that more empathetic view right now is kind of the way to move through this thing. It has to be. Otherwise, we've got churches gathering for the sake of gathering. We've got people coming together for the sake of whatever their motive is for still meeting, even though it's been suggested that we don't, So yeah, I think this has been a time of like just reflection for a lot of people. And this is a tough decision for pastors, right? This is a tough decision for church leaders of like, do we still gather? Do we showcase our faith, or by not gathering, are we making it look like we don't have faith? It's a thing that I know a lot of pastors, and you can go on Facebook and see, are battling with that. But we had you and I had that discussion about the fear and the reality. And I think you ultimately said it's not about faith over fear. It's about fear versus suffering, I think is what you said.
Yeah.
And just, you had a post a few days ago, titled, it was more like a blog post, a really long Facebook post, but it was Losing Touch with Suffering.
Yeah.
Right. What was your, and we've kind of been talking about this whole time, but what was your heart behind that post?
It's kind of what you said. I think a lot of it has to do with public versus private. Now, listen, if we're all Christians, I think it's just so easy to lose that we represent in a lot of ways the church, the God. We represent Jesus in the way we're talking and the way we're acting. Right. And I think there's a way to represent Jesus where he seems to not be in touch with reality in people's lives.
That's good. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And
yeah.
so that would be the case if Jesus never became a man. If Jesus was just a God we never saw, then you could say, yeah, just believe in this guy that we can't see. But you're losing touch with the incarnational Jesus who was one of us. He walked with us. He was in touch with suffering. And so to me, it's a very tone deaf, or it's a naive or clueless way to think, to go, hey, I'm representing this guy that wants to enter into this lady's, the fact that she can't pay her bills, and be there with her in that pain, that discomfort, that fear. And I can really dismiss and misrepresent who he is by a simplistic phrase, or just, hey, just subscribe to what I'm telling you. It was almost like smacked of like positive thinking to me. And so, hey, don't worry, like just choose faith and then you're going to be able to feed your kids. Well, fear ends like kind of when suffering begins. Like, I'm not scared of this anymore. This just sucks.
This is just my reality. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just reality. And so
that's good. Yeah.
It's also a weird place of privilege that such a hot topic word, but that we just assume that anyone that's worried or is choosing of a real reality is choosing fear over faith.
Yeah.
And I thought it boiled things down to a very simplistic, like it's just a choice. Well, it is a choice how we respond, but it's not your reality may be way different than someone else's. It possibly is. And the thing, it wouldn't be a big deal, but you represent the Jesus that wants to come in and be real to that person in suffering. And please, like, I want to be very clear, like, I'm not suffering. You're not suffering, but there's a lot of, it doesn't mean you can't be sensitive to that.
Right.
No,
that's good.
And I think I actually alluded to that in the post. It's like, I didn't really put it this way, but it's like, hey, maybe we can be grateful for the things, like maybe that grateful, like the way we are in private, maybe it comes across as insensitive in public. I don't really know how to phrase that out, but.
Well, yeah, because there's still a desire, like there's a huge desire on my heart for Christians to hold fast to faith. Like, I just believe that it is important for us to not allow fear to like dictate. So what's the
faith for? Let me ask you, like, faith for what? Let's just say faith over fear, faith in what? What would you say that's faith in? Not faith in, but faith for what?
I think that anytime you're in a position where you have to overcome something, like I think of an addict, their reality is they're addicted to whatever it is, right? And their reality is there's this dependency on something that they don't want to be dependent on. They have to have faith because if we're going to go the scriptural definition of it, it's faith is the substance of things that you don't even have yet, is the evidence of the unseen stuff, right? And so I feel like in this situation, faith would look like, it's a good question. It is. Like, I don't know what we're holding on to right now, you know, because I'm still not very fearful of this thing. I'm just not. Like, I'm not fearful of getting sick. I'm not saying I'm not going to get sick. I'm saying I'm not fearful of it. I'm just in a place of like, I feel like a lot of it still is kind of overblown. You're right. There's like some people out there that are suffering because of some overreactions, I feel like. So maybe the reality hasn't set in with me yet. So I don't know. I don't really know what I'm.
Well, you haven't lost your income.
Correct. I've been asked to work from home, which for me is kind of a dream job. So yeah. I have it much better off now than I did before this thing broke out.
Yeah.
In a way, I get to spend time with my kids more, and
But if you worked, if you were the cleaning crew at a hotel, the ladies, normally ladies that turn down beds and clean rooms, and all of a sudden hotel stays are, being a when occupancies are very low, they don't need the staff anymore.
A good friend of mine told me yesterday that a couple days ago he had to lay off more people in one day than he has his whole career, and he said it with tearful eyes. It is affecting his business and his people big time, for sure.
And I think I also wanted to say that if I was going to re-edit that what I wrote, I would want to be like, it's not just the people at the bottom of the ladder. It's not just the bottom rung. It's just that. I'm just saying, if I'm putting myself in if you're already on the edge and being told and being pushed off, like, hey, no more money's coming in, the thing you were barely scraping by to feed your kids anyway is stopping. To then be also kind of like, just make a choice.
Right.
Like it seemed just a little bit heartless, and I wouldn't care, but it represents the Jesus that I see, and I feel like because we're supposed to be like him, we're supposed to enter in and be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes easier than maybe somebody that didn't know him.
Do you feel like that tone has changed a little bit though? It's like, I feel like the tone's changed quite a bit since things got real. I feel like and I don't know I don't know how that comes off either. I don't know if that comes off as like a two-faced church. I don't know, but it is what it is. The reality is setting in.
Like, we just need to not be so quick,
Yeah.
We not be so quick.
So the church there is room for the church to kind of learn a lesson, right? I think so. In the way that it initially reacted to this, possibly, which is a good thing, kind of.
It's a great thing, and I can see how we get there because, regardless of how diverse we want to think our churches are, they're just really, there's a lot of room there, especially economically. There's, a lot, by and large, our church looks like us, and that we're all part of it, and socioeconomically, all that stuff. And so I can see how, in church board meetings, like, who's representing down and out, like, not probably that many, but I just think it's good to, like, what is Jesus actually saying about the potentials of this,
How is this, where's your heart at right now for your family, moving forward? Like, what's your reaction to this? How have you adjusted over the last 2 weeks? Personally, how is this affecting you, I guess?
It'd be really easy for me to get dismal and down about it, but I feel like in a lot of ways we're seeing some of the best out of humanity right now in a weird way. I feel like there's a camaraderie. It's funny. There's a saying that it's like, there's no easier way to unite a people than to have a common enemy. And
that's good. Well, look at 9/11, bro. I mean, 9/12 was I feel like a huge unifying day for our country. And I've tried to compare this to that. Cause that's kind of,
this is even more so.
That's kind of all I have to go by is like, you know, I didn't live through the Great Depression or any of that stuff. This is like what my comparison is. 9/11 was a big day for the country. How did we react in 9/12? I feel like it was a good unifying moment. And this is going to be an extended thing because it wasn't a one-day event. This is like actually magnifying, right? It's getting worse and worse and worse before it gets better.
And this is everyone.
Yes.
This is everyone.
This is worldwide. Yes.
Against the invisible. But in a lot of ways, I feel like we're seeing a lot of good things about what humanity can do. And I've seen a lot of participation. I mean, there's people, it's like, hey, I'm going to stay home for the good of what they're telling us that's going on. And I've been kind of, I don't know why, impressed by that, but I like to see that. It's like almost like everyone's pulling their own weight in this thing, if that makes sense.
Some personal responsibility. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's encouraging to see. And I've also been impressed with, frankly, our governments in a lot of ways, not just Trump, but our state, local. Just there's been some headlines about some rent relief, mortgage forbearance. They extended the tax. You're filing your taxes. They extended that deadline. They're talking about, saying, hey, you don't need to worry about paying your mortgage or your rent for X amount of months. And honestly, I think I feel like I've seen a lot of those things that are positive things.
Yeah. I know Trump came out yesterday and had that conference where he said he sat down with governors of every single state on a conference call. And he seemed, he'll be the first to tell you when somebody disagrees with him, right? Or when somebody's like opposing him. And he seemed like, man, this was a great conference call. I got to sit down with representatives of every state in America. And I think you're right. I mean, there's some good fruit that's coming from a little bit of patience, maybe, hunkering down.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're all being, I love seeing that. I love that. And so in a lot of senses, I'm really impressed with that stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk about you had a Facebook post last night, in regards to friendships. I think it was about exposing friendships. And I know you had a concern about, how that could be interpreted or whatever, but it was refreshing for me because I do think that during these times, man, I just feel okay with like questioning everything, looking at every single thing, looking at where I'm at with my family, where I'm at with the friends in my life, where I'm at with the church, where I'm, all these different things. Talk to us about that from last night, that post that you made. What was that post?
Yeah. Well, as you know, we do we have a ministry called SAFETIME where we essentially kind of like pastoral counseling or providing a place for people to just unload. And there's been a common theme in the calls we've been doing, the video calls we've been doing about friendship lately. And there's just a lot of people. We live in this weird world where everyone feels connected based on social media and the internet and all that stuff, and they feel like what feels like or looks like doesn't actually seem real also at the same time. So it's like, I've got these friends, but are they friends? And it's a common thing we've been hearing. And so that was already in my heart. And then I started thinking about this shutdown. We're kind of all, people are sort of self-isolating, and that's good. But I started thinking about all the people that are isolating, specifically mostly singles. We have a lot of singles that we are acquainted with, and now they're seeing the things that they used to gather with people are being shut down. So, I used to see my friends, quote unquote friends at church. I used to see them, and I felt like it was now this is going to be a very sensitive time for them, for certain people to go, wow, what's really being exposed in all these shutdowns right now is that if I don't go, or I'm not a part of these things where I saw and I was around these people, I'm not really having the interaction or the connection with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
for
it's
sure.
like what I tried to convey, and I don't think I did it very well, but my heart was I tried to convey is like, my heart was going out to the people that are now, it's now being exposed that, wow, I'm not going to that thing. I don't have a lot of calls coming in. I don't have a lot of people that seem to care about what I'm doing. I don't, and, conversely, they might not even feel that drawn to want to reach out to people. And so what's being exposed is sort of the lack of depth or the lack of real connection of who they are, because it's so easy to, man, it's just so easy to get riled up about a thing, and then you're around that thing, whether that's the church or sports or an activity, mountain biking or whatever, and oh, these are my best friends. Well, I think that's just sad. And I wouldn't have known if that was sad because until I had actual friends. And I think until you have actual friends, it's hard to get it. But you have actual friends that really love you, that you really love, that if that thing that you were all centered around crumbled, if they shut down the Dallas Cowboys, if they shut down the yoga class, what is the substance of our relationship?
That's good. Yeah.
And just kind of my heart was going out to those people because I know that's real. And then I know that social media plays a big part because those same people are getting on their Instagram stories or Facebook, and now they're seeing people that they thought they were in with hanging out without them. And they're like, wow, I'm like only as valuable as I'm around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
no, that's good. And you were concerned when we started this conversation, you were concerned that this exposing would maybe expose the loneliness in someone's life, right? I mean, you were concerned that depending on who read this, if this post would magnify the loneliness more than it would what your point was.
Yes.
So this is your chance right here to fix that.
Well, what did you think?
I felt the same thing. I mean, I would say honestly, I believe that you're correct, that times like this are when you kind of find out who your real friends are. When everything is shut down, who's the person that you're still having conversations with? Who's the person that's checking in on you just because they care about you, not because you didn't show up to yoga class or whatever. And so for me personally, I think I do feel blessed. I've actually been in kind of a season lately where I've had to make some decisions, and I've had some people in my life that I could trust to reach out to. And so I'm experiencing the goodness of that. Like I see the friends that I really have, but I'm just like you. I could also imagine what it would be like to read that and not have those friends. So for you, I guess
it's not unlike what we were actually just talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's still being empathetic to somebody that's not in your position.
Yeah.
And being sensitive to that, and actually going and saying, putting yourself in there, like, where would Jesus be? With the hurting, with the lonely. So
does a post like that, just a blatant post that you were trying to hurt people with, does it, would you not make that post now thinking that, or what?
No,
go ahead.
I wouldn't. I mean, I watched it. I've never done this with anything I've posted yet, but I watched that one after I posted it probably 10 times.
Yeah.
Naci was like, what are you doing? What? I'm like, because I'm just so sensitive to that. But I do believe I wouldn't have done it if I didn't believe there was hope to just get honest about it. And I wouldn't have done it unless I believed and I had seen that God has been answering prayers in that realm that we've been a part of with people that are having that same desire. They want friends, and he's showed up, and he's crazy cool stories that and so it was that I also just wanted to give people permission to own it, to own the fact that they may be feeling that.
Yeah.
There's just so much positive thinking stuff that I feel like we leave Jesus behind in.
Wow.
And kind of I just think under the Christian banner, we also sweep things under the rug. And by association, I think we sweep him under the rug too. That
wow.
he's in that heartache. You know, he's in that pain. He's in that loneliness. And I think when we dismiss that in the name of wanting to feel better or positive thinking or faith over fear or faith over pain, we just kind of dismiss all that. And I wanted to give people permission to feel that.
But you do believe that friendships are important, right?
Totally. That was
the point of the post. So
yeah,
you actually feel like being honest with where you're at is more important than not being honest, right? So if you are that person who's reading that post and you're realizing that your lack of friendships is being exposed, you believe it's important to actually be honest with that and look for friendships, right? I mean, that's kind of the point of it.
Pray.
Yeah.
Own it. Just claim it.
Yeah.
This sucks. And then also part of that is maybe like letting some of those that you've been trying to hold, white knuckle, let those go.
That's good.
And let those die. It's just like I'm making all the effort in this deal, and I'm just trying so hard for one friend. And friendship is kind of seasonal, I think, that, but I'm talking to the people that maybe are just struggling for one friend. And
right.
Because I feel like for me personally, I have a group of, 6 or 7 friends who I feel like I can tell anything to, and I generally have, and they feel like they know everything about me. But it's not like I'm talking to all 6 or 7 every season in the same, intensity.
And it's not like it isn't a group of people that hang out either. It's 6 individuals from all kinds of different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I consider them all very close friends, but it doesn't mean it's all seasonal.
Yeah.
We're all seasonal with each other. I might talk to you really quite often for a few months, and then maybe we don't talk at all for a few months. And I feel like God arranges it that way.
Yeah. And that hurts my feelings too when you don't talk to me. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Especially when I go on Facebook and see you hanging out with other people. Just kidding.
Yeah. And so the whole point of it though was the heart behind it was the people that it's being exposed, the reality of maybe some of their relationships. And then not trying to just sugarcoat it. And that was I felt like that was felt like a dangerous thing. And it was hard to do for me to post that, but
you just believe that honesty is more important.
But maybe
right.
But what's also comforting is there's not that many people that saw it anyway.
That's true. Yeah, there we go. I got a small following, so we're good. I can say whatever I want. No, you just believe in the power of honesty, and I think that's what your ministry is all about. That's what SAFETIME's all about. Is like actually exposing what your heart believes and get it out there for you to look at it. Is this a right way of thinking or a wrong way of thinking? And yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you're in that place of like, honesty is more important, honestly, like you posting that post and being concerned about the wrong people hearing it or the wrong people feeling it is no different than the husband that comes out and confesses to his wife that he's addicted to pornography, right? This is going to hurt someone maybe, but it's more important that I'm honest about it. And so I do feel like you're the guy that is choosing honesty over hiding it, whatever it is, the good things, the bad things. Let's get real. That's kind of cool, man. I feel like this time of isolation and this time of like, freak out mode. I do think that people being real is going to be a fruit of this. I think we're going to see more realness come out for sure. And not just, it's not for just honesty's sake. It's for, I believe that's where Jesus is. That's where the healing actually is. And so it's just like, as long as we're going to pretend that it's not there, he can't meet in there, Yeah. Yeah. If you want friends, you're going to have to realize you don't have any.
Yeah, and I actually believe that's when they come.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
That's when you open that's when the doors open. That's when the doors open. Up until then, it's just like everything is not real, and let me own it. And the other thing I didn't want to do is cause people to go into like a neurotic evaluation.
Yeah, checklist through their Facebook friends. Yeah,
yeah, just even their actual real friends.
Yeah,
like, well, I don't know. Josh hasn't called me back in a couple of weeks. Like,
yeah. Based on what he said last night, is he really a friend? Yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
That's good.
That wasn't. But I kind of have faith that the people that actually do have friends, it wouldn't even register. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. That's the funny thing about it. It's the people that actually are in the friend groups that people want to be a part of, and
yeah,
they're not even going to get it.
Yeah, that's good.
Hopefully they do. That's part of being Jesus. I mean, I think the whole theme of what we're talking about is being Jesus for somebody other than yourself. And someone that looks like you, and someone in your station. It's just like enter into where is he? He's with the hurting, he's with the sick, with the lonely.
Yeah, it's good. Tell us a little bit about SAFETIME, bro, as we wrap this up. What?
we gotta
plug. Yeah, as I want you to. I believe a lot in what you guys are doing, man, and I think that especially in times like this, I feel like these are the ministries that are going to rise to the top. I really do. And
I will say we have felt like a certain sense of like superiority is for fun, in fun. Like, hey, we've been online for a year.
Yeah. Corona's pretty new to the scene, but we've been here for a while.
Everyone's online. And everyone is online now. Have you noticed?
That's true.
Everyone is online.
That's true.
And I'm glad about that in a way. There's a lot of people that have a lot of good things to say. We've been listening to the same 10 voices for a long time. And there's a lot of people I was reading earlier today is, the early church in Paul, I think in Corinthians, he was like, he even told them, like, what do you, when you gather, what are we going to do? What does he say? It's like, everyone should bring a psalm or a word or a teaching and so there's this whole idea that we are all supposed to participate in the early church. Somehow we're supposed to be ready to come to participate. And I think in some ways this is in some sense of that. It's like we're all getting to participate. I think another thing, I know that's not what we're talking about, but another thing that's kind of being exposed is the one-directional consumeristic nature of the modern church.
Yeah.
Let's just come, show up, and eat from this guy or this girl or this worship team. And you just really don't see much of that in the Bible. And, specifically the verse I just mentioned, that passage I just mentioned, like what that kind of like it implied that we're all supposed to be participating in some way.
That's good.
That's just something else that was on my mind today. But yeah, SAFETIME is.
Here's the reason I wanted you to talk about this, because I feel like you've been talking about a couple different things about the Lord exposing. This is a time for the Lord to expose things, and as those things are exposed, SAFETIME is here for what?
I think SAFETIME would be here to provide a place for you to get honest about what's being exposed with somebody who will sit with you, have a conversation. What's also being exposed to us about SAFETIME, it's a very connectional, interactive ministry. There's so many. We're just talking about the way people attend church now. That's one directional. You're eating, you're receiving. Even you can sign up for your favorite prophetic guys course too. It's $50 and it's all pre-recorded. There's nothing really out there that is a two-way kind of like, we want to connect, actually get to know you, to know who you are. But in the light of this exposure, this would be a great place to just process, to let out of your heart, your mouth, out of your mind, what is going on, and get honest. And we more than happy to receive it and go and basically declare, model, exemplify that Jesus is here with you. And this is actually the place he is. There's this certain paradox that I believe that God is always with us, but I also believe that he's with us where the truth is about us. And so we can be living in a non-reality from our situation. Maybe it's, hey, the reality is I don't have any friends, but maybe you don't want to admit that. And so you're just sort of like stuffing that thing in the backside of your, deep in your heart. And you're like, no, it's good. I've got friends. Just keep going to church. Or just keep going to yoga class.
Yeah.
And God is always with us. He's there in that, but I don't believe the healing comes there. The healing comes, he's like begging us, hey, let's walk over and look at this thing together.
That's good. Because
only then can I heal it, and then only then can I do what I want to do with it, but let me be there with you in it. And I think that's what we're trying to incarnate, for a better word. That's what we're trying to be. Yeah,
you were talking about
we want to just give people permission, like it's okay. It's not only is it okay, but if you can walk through this, that's where the joy is.
You were talking about like our participation in this, and I like the analogy that you just talked about Jesus is here, like he's here in that place of honesty, but our participation now is talking about it, looking at it, being real about it, not just soaking in that place, but like I'm going to participate by getting real with this honesty, with this reality that's looking at me in my face, Yeah. That's good.
And it's not fun. It's not fun, but I'd like to believe that people were drawn to Jesus for a reason,
Yeah.
And I think that when you see the healing, the hurting gets so bad, you're going to run to that healing, just like, hey. And yeah, that's kind of what it's about. We hear all kinds of stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
SAFETIME.live. If you guys are in a place right now where you are believing or feeling that the Lord is exposing things in your life that need to be talked about, that need to be dealt with, maybe finished in your life or grown into, check out FaceTime.live. Set a time with Josh and Naci to both just be there for you, whatever your need is. They'll not just hear you out, but they'll direct you to the answer. So that's good.
And it's free.
It's free. This is a free ministry, a free service. So Josh, thanks, man. Appreciate you getting on and sharing thoughts. I love communicating with you about topics that I don't talk about much, which is fear and the lack of it, or not. I don't know. It's good, man.
Right.
Stay hunkered down with your family. Be the protector of your household. Keep Corona away.
Yeah,
it's good.
No, yeah, we're stocking up on ammo.
There you go. Have you guys had like a lot of empty stores and stuff in Dallas or no?
Naci and I actually just went to the store, and other than the toilet paper aisle and the paper towel aisle, everything was fine.
We're pretty low in Dodge. Yeah, we're pretty low in Dodge.
They were limiting some things. They were limiting the amount of milk you could buy and the amount of ground beef you could buy. But again, they don't want people to hoard.
Yeah.
Everything that we're hearing is that the supply chain is fine, but because of human nature and like we just got to limit, get what you need. Get what we need.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you. Be blessed.
All right.
We'll talk soon,
All
okay?
right.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.